I played with a husband and wife couple I did not know, friends of a friend. Husband made a rather uninspired human fighter. Wife made a magical girl cleric, essentially. They had very little in common aside from mutual stubbornness and adherence to strict lawful moral codes. At first, we'd only invited the wife to play. She was fun, if not a little main character-ish. Then, all of a sudden, without asking, the husband showed up a few weeks later with a fully built fighter. The mutual friend was like, "Yeah, it's awkward, but would you mind letting him play for me? He's a cool guy." Okay, so now we had these two, and they started flirting in character. Awkwardly. It was kind of cute. The cleric was clueless and the fighter had no game, but then they moved in together after the second date, and every game we would end up suffering through a painstaking description of some fluffy domestic thing they did together, or the time they got a fantasy gym membership, or the worst dates. Dates for the fighter and cleric were painful, giggly, like obnoxiously realistic dates in that the only people who want to hear about them are the people in them. They went to the park, they took walks, they ate at restaurants. If you're wondering why we let this happen, the answer is we didn't. We talked out of character several times about the romantic bird walks. They complained. My character had an NPC fiance. We did stuff all the time. My character's NPC fiance was the quest giver, and when we did things, it was 98% of the time with the whole party, and pretty much always plot relevant. They agreed to cut down after furious arguments about us telling the cleric how to play her character. The group eventually broke down over other toxicity, but I will never forget being essentially stuck watching two near strangers relive their early relationship days and most of us feeling too awkward to nip in the bud before they took a fantasy spin class. There are plenty of ways to make a romance subplot work, and this couple exercised not a single one of those ways. This game was a game on Roll20 with strangers, so going in, I knew it would be hit or miss. I've played games with strangers that have turned out to be disasters, and I've played games where everyone has become friends and had a great time. Never before have I played a game that was such an absolute disaster where everything that could have gone wrong went wrong right from the outset. The setup was some kind of heist one-shot. We'd all been contacted by some mysterious benefactor to meet up at this tavern, and from there, we'd been hired to break into some manor in town. We were all asked to come up with thieving characters, or ones that would have interest in making money without asking questions. I come up with a charlatan bard with disguise self and charm person powers. I specifically state, as part of his backstory, he has disguise self, and confirm with the DM that this wouldn't be too overpowered for the infiltration mission he wants us to play. He says it'll be fine, as we'll be starting out with a high enough level for these abilities that I have. Sounds alright so far for a Thieves Guild quest, right? Game starts and everything goes wrong. I'm playing with 9 strangers, some of whom don't even get the chance to do their introductions, as some players are hogging the spotlight, talking over everyone else, are going off and brooding in the corner and refusing prompts to interact with the rest of the party. We're all level 1, which is not what was discussed. It resulted in everyone with a cool backstory now being a scrub loser, and half the abilities we'd okayed in private being wiped off the character sheet. Thanks for lying straight to my face to get me into your game, Dungeon Master. The DM decides he wants our patron to be some sort of mysterious benefactor, but goes about it in all the wrong ways. We're told we received unsigned notes to meet someone here, and not to trust anyone else. This ensures we're all just sitting around waiting for the quest giver to show up, and avoiding each other's characters. The tavern is having some sort of night of games event everyone must participate in. I suppose this was done as some sort of icebreaker to make us form teams and get to know each other, but it's almost immediately ruined by pairing us up with NPCs and making our opponents NPCs as well. These little dice gambling games go on for over an hour in real time and result in most of us getting hammered drunk from mandatory drinking contests. We win some sort of gem from the contest with a message written on it in a language only a few party members can read. It's supposed to get us to share the message with those who can read it, except the guy who won the gem is one of those people who can read it, and he's a massive douchebag too. He refuses to share the message with anyone else and repeatedly declares his intent to leave us all here and go after the treasure by himself. He needs to be stopped multiple times out of character from doing this. The DM is barely paying attention at this point. He doesn't get that the PC with the gem isn't sharing the message message because he doesn't understand the message, but because he's a jerk. He sends in a DMPC who also speaks this language into the tavern. She awkwardly tries to start a conversation with the problem PC and is told to piss off, then just sort of wanders around the inn with no idea what to do. We repeatedly ask this lady in and out of character if she can give us the mission without the Carmen Sandiego coded message shtick. We later find out from the DM that she is a member of this secret society, but she feigns ignorance of what we're talking about and wanders out the door. He's really committed to this secret agent little orphan Annie coded message BS. Never mind, everyone hates it and isn't even having fun anymore. We are now 3 hours in and half the party has left without a word. Eventually the DM and the problem player get bored. The former because no one is getting his brilliant message, and the latter from not being allowed to solo the adventure by himself. The message just says, go behind the bar. We go behind the bar and almost get in a fight with the barkeep. After spending half an hour in real time looking for another clue, DM passive-aggressively suggests we go into the alley behind the bar. There's no one there, and we all stand around for a bit, waiting for our contact to show up. Eventually, the DM tells us to dig a hole in the ground to find, you guessed it, another sign with a coded message in it. Eventually, we decipher it, and it says to go to the manor. Keep in mind, it's been 3.5 real-world hours at this point, including me. All but 4 people have left without a word. We're just starting the mission this one-shot was supposed to be about. This is a theater of the mind game, and it's not working well with this side of the story. Can we climb the fence? No, it's too high. How high is it? Too high. Can we dig under the fence or jump onto the building from another rooftop? No, there's guards watching. How many guards and where are they? There's too many guards. They are everywhere all at once. It's impossible to sneak into the mansion without being seen. Would sure be nice if we weren't all level 1, wouldn't it? Can we ask the guards to let us in and show him the letter? The guards ask the owner of the mansion who you are and he's never heard of you. You're told to leave, and now the guards are on alert because they know you want to get in. Get going. Well, screw you too, GM. We go to a general store to get some supplies. The DM proudly stated at the start that he likes to have challenging NPC interactions. This means that literally everyone we talk to acts like they're 2 seconds from calling the guards to arrest us, even if we're not doing anything malicious. Like, I go up to the bar to ask the barkeep to pour me some ale. The barkeep squints at you and asks why someone would want to buy an ale at a tavern. That's very suspicious. Roll a persuasion check to convince him you're not up to no good. I just wanted a drink, dude, not to kill and rob him. Every time we buy anything, we need to make a similar check, even if it's basic supplies, like a rope. It's not like something ultra specialized for evil deeds like deadly poison. 5 hours in now, without even entering the manor, we just said screw it and ended it there. All of us resolved to burn the mansion to the ground if we do meet back up. DM freaks out, asks why every single time he tries to run this brilliant adventure he thought up, everyone ends up burning the manor down. He was going to make this whole campaign of adventures for this secret group, and we just ruined it for him. We tried telling him that the whole convoluted mess with the coded messages just wasted our time, and someone either should have been at the bar to tell us to rob the manor or just start us off already knowing what to do. He ignores us and continues to whine as if 9 strangers on the interwebs got together and launched a campaign to ruin his brilliant idea before it could begin. Train of thought type, unhinged stuff. I leave. All the next day, he sends me unprompted messages to get back to the group. I block him, still not entirely convinced this whole thing wasn't just a fever dream. I don't know if this guy is a new DM or what, but yeah, this campaign is definitely not great. For starters, 9 players is a lot of players. Obviously, you can run a game for 9 people, I'm sure it's happened. However, it is hard. It's not an easy thing to accomplish. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend running for that many people. I get stressed out with only 5. But yeah, that's not the main problem. The main problem is this incredibly convoluted mystery plot. Mysteries can be a tough needle to thread in D&D games. If your players are not catching on, it can be very, very awkward. If the DM is giving too much away, then it loses a lot of the thrill of the mystery. It's that fine line you need to walk. I'm doing it right now on Shadow over Karakonos, my actual play D&D podcast, and it's going pretty well so far. I've been blessed with with great players who are very attentive and speculate a lot about the events of the game, and frankly, if you speculate enough, eventually you're going to land on the bullseye. However, even with great and super engaged players, I mean, I still struggle sometimes behind the scenes when I'm prepping. Sometimes I make it more complicated than it needs to be, and I need to resist that, because if it's too complicated, it's just going to be confusing. And when it's confusing, it's not going to be fun. And hell, what's D&D without fun? Hello, this is my first post here, and English is not my native language, so don't be too hard on me, okay? Some backstory: I'm a 20-year-old girl who is still very new to tabletop role-playing games, only played one short campaign that ended some weeks ago, and since I enjoyed it so much, I decided to search for a group to play again. I went after a one-piece RPG since I've always wondered what it would be like to play in that universe. A little while later, I met a DM. Me and the Dungeon Master talked a bit and made my sheet. I made a swordsman from Wano, and I was very hyped about the story. For those who are One Piece fans, she was a member of the Kurozumi clan that left Wano as a baby, and she didn't know about her family and the hatred towards them. All going well, right? Just for now, after my sheet was done, the DM told me to make a session just with us. I guess it was supposed to show how I ended up meeting the rest of the crew. Okay, I can do that, I told myself, and the session starts. DM, you are alone on an island. No one is near you. It's been 2 days since you got lost and the weather is very cold. What? Why am I on an island? How did I get here? And what happened in those 2 days that passed? Don't worry. You said that you've played RPGs before. You know how to improvise. I took a deep breath. I knew this was not a good sign, but I decided to try and go with it. Maybe it's just a weird start, right? Wrong. My character started walking on the beach. For quite a while, it felt like I was just watching a cutscene. I didn't have any say in anything my character would do. The DM would just say everything I was doing for me. But then, we finally found a village. You go into the village, and you see a bald old man in a chair, looking at the sky. Do you talk to him? I walk slowly towards him with a gentle smile, trying to see what he's looking at, and ask, hello, sir? What? Why are you role-playing like that? You should just say that you asked him where you are. Don't do that again. Oh, okay. Sorry. At this point, I already made up my mind. I was going to leave. I really enjoy heavy roleplay and look like I'm not gonna get it in this game. The old man turns and looks at you from head to toe. Okay. I'm using a purple yakuta with a red band on my waist. There are some golden drawings from the Kurozumi clan on my band. Oh, and I have a sword on my waist. I have a purple sheath with yellow and... I got interrupted. No, your character is actually naked. She put her clothes on a rock after taking them off to dry. She's fully naked and the old man is staring at your boobs with lust in his eyes. What? She's been here for 2 days. How did she never put her clothes back on after so long? She forgot and now she's naked. You said it's cold. How did she forget if it's cold? Well, she's like Luffy. She never feels cold since she's always distracted. No, I never said my character was anything like that. I even explained to you how her personality is like. She is now. Let's continue. She's naked and now the old man will try to touch her boobs. Does she let... Oh my god. Why do I have a really bad feeling that the DM wants a very specific answer to this question? Anyway, after that, I left the call and blocked him. Still haven't found a new game, but I'm not in a hurry. The story ends here. Sorry for any mistakes. As I said, first post here. I hope y'all at least enjoyed it a little bit. Obviously, this story is just transparently creepy and bad. There's not really much you can learn in a D&D sense here. I mean, this girl did have the brains to back out very quickly, and I hope that you guys will have that exact same intuition, because, yeah, staying in games like this is just not going to end well. Luckily, however, this DM showed his true colors immediately and gave this girl a very convenient and very obvious reason to bow out. But sometimes this kind of thing won't appear until you're months into the campaign. You feel like you have some sunk cost into it. Luckily, that didn't happen here. But if that does happen, you still need to take the same considerations into account. Even if you're months into a campaign, you need to see behavior like this and realize that it's not good. There is a perfect group, a perfect game out there for everyone. And staying with bad games and bad DMs like this one is not how you are going to find them. This is going to be a long story of one of my first D&D campaigns and how it ended in disaster. Sorry if the formatting isn't amazing. I'm on mobile, and this is my first time trying this. I was part of a heavily homebrewed game of Dungeons & Dragons, and our DM was very experienced. When creating my character, I had a question about Quicken Spell and asked if it meant I could cast 2 spells. I was a fairly new player. The DM read it and said he would allow me to cast 2 spells. Neat. So the campaign is on its way, and one thing our party notices is that every battle is a life or death battle, like fighting an 80-man zombie horde with archers and wizard zombies while we're level 2 to 3. Almost all the fights are like this. We would average 2 to 3 down teammates each fight, and almost everyone was on low health. We always fought against enemies way above our level, and it wasn't because we took the wrong route. We were following the route the DM intended. It didn't help that the DM had also consistently high rolls. The DM would often spend a lot more time on his NPCs and made them more central to the story than us. They often had to save us from harm, and in big epic battles, we were just kind of there on the sidelines looking and fighting a couple of enemies way above our level. All his NPCs were godly beings that were untouchable for us, and they would also break character if it suited them. For instance, take a flirty NPC. My NPC flirts back and rolls a natural 20. Our group goes wild thinking that I just somehow did the ultimate Chad move. Nope, now the NPC hates my character and for some reason often almost kills him. Now to the meat and potatoes of it all, and the reason I dub him the anti-magic DM. At first, he allowed me to cast double spells, like I said. He didn't like it anymore because it did way too much damage compared to the rest of us, at least that's what he said. However, this wasn't true. Our barbarian often did way more damage than me, and that was because he got mythical weaponry. And from then onwards, I wasn't allowed to cast double spells. Fine, it's his rules I guess, but he also made me miss many of my damaging spells from then on out. For instance, I cast Scorching Ray, and all my rays hit the enemy, and they aren't immune or resistant to fire, but they don't take damage because I hit their tail, and it just falls off without taking any damage. This happened more times than I'd like to admit. Besides hard nerfing my damage, he never allowed me as the caster to get any magical items. If we went to shops, I wasn't allowed to buy from the magical item section, or for some reason they never had any magic wands or anything like that. Meanwhile, they had +4 axes and swords with magical effects. This is where one of the most outrageous things happened. Our DM gave our barbarian a manor that was so advanced it was insane. He somehow got the house of the legendary heroes with a magical forge, a giant component garden, private automatons that would fight and care for him, and the house itself. All of that, and we were level 6. On top of all this, he gave our barbarian a +5 greatsword with a crit range from 15 to 20. When activated, he would get advantage on his attack throws. The best part, he wasn't proficient with great swords, but axes. However, with the power of this magical forge, it became a +7 great axe and just kept all its abilities. So our DM gave magical weaponry to the non-casters and didn't really allow the casters to find any gear that would help them. What else could he do? When we finally found a wand, he gave it to the barbarian, who refused to give it away. The wand had 10 charges and could copy a spell it had seen in the week past. If someone cast Fireball in front of our barbarian, 8 intelligence, 10 wisdom, no magical affinity whatsoever, the barbarian could just cast it back without any effort or negative modifiers because the wand would cast it, not him. He also got a delayed Fire Blast necklace in case he didn't feel strong enough already. Also, he cast a spell that was so dangerous only one other person could cast it, and this person didn't allow anyone else to cast these kind of spells. So you would imagine he'd take away the wand. Nope, the barbarian was the only exception. This while taking away my wand when I finally was able to find one. The favoritism was off the charts. Now, all of us also had a profession. I was an alchemist and our barbarian a brewer. And since my magic was being halted, I figured I would create damaging potions since I could make potions explode. However, the DM didn't allow my character to remember how he made any potion. Basically, a highly experienced alchemist wasn't allowed to remember their potions or how to make them. I also had a master in alchemy who created cool potions and whom I had been in tutelage with for a long time. He often sold me potions, but when he created a potion of explosions and fiend fire, he just didn't allow me to buy them. He also didn't allow me to even learn the recipe and told me I wouldn't be able to recreate them, even on a nat 20. Meanwhile, our barbarian had created a brew that somehow allowed him to become a demon butterfly god. He also gave him the power of flight, invisibility, and basically anything you could possibly imagine. This happened because he had a small legion of demon butterflies, following his desires when he drank this brew. He also could perfectly remember how to make it. What? So being beyond all options and how to improve my character, and also being the only character that almost constantly gets mugged or kidnapped, I started losing hope and just genuinely not liking this campaign. That was until my friend, who had a character with an intelligence of 26, came up with a plan. He got that intelligence thanks to something the DM did. Since his character was fascinated by explosions, they would ask me for help to create an explosive device, basically kind of like a bomb. Now, a 26 intelligence character plus a 16 intelligence character that knows a lot about explosives could probably craft something that fulfills my needs. Turns out they can't, because we rolled a 19 on creating something and almost died. Turns out a 26 intelligence character isn't smarter, but just thinks faster, and that my 16 intelligence character with knowledge of explosives somehow just didn't figure out that we could cause a huge dust explosion. At that point, both my friend and myself were done. We had talked with the DM often to try and make him see that he was unfavorable to magic characters. My friend was a cleric, and constantly giving things to the martial characters, and most of all, the barbarian. But he would always say, DM is right, and if you don't like it, leave. After taking that for a while, we took him up on his offer, and we left. The martial characters didn't understand, because they were like, we're having fun. Which, I mean, of course you are. You're basically gods. At level 7, you have mythical weapons and abilities that make you nigh immortal. That was my first big D&D campaign, and it's safe to say, I'm still turned off by it and afraid of what DMs will do. If you want more examples of things he did, or want to hear the story of how much we argued for 20 minutes about an explosion, feel free to ask in the comments. Thanks for reading my frustrations. Ah yes. Favoritism. Favoritism is the bane of many D&D games. When you are a dungeon master, you need to be impartial at your table. You need to be able to see all your players as equals, because when you favor one player over the others, it really shows. Obviously, the barbarian, and it looks like martial classes in general, got a lot of love here when the casters got straight up shafted. I've never seen a DM have monsters just be immune to spells because reasons. That is the most frustrating part to me. That's next level annoying. Kind of interesting, since often we see martial characters get this shaft and spellcasters get all of the love. At least that's what I've read more commonly, but here the roles are reversed, and yeah, they're just as bad. Obviously, there are times where certain characters will take the spotlight temporarily, but when the DM is enforcing that spotlight, when the DM is forcing the campaign to be about a particular character, or forcing the combat to focus around a particular powerful character that the DM has made powerful, that is a recipe for an incredibly unfun game. Everyone else feels like sidekicks, and that's exactly what we saw here. Also, the whole alchemy thing, I mean, come on, that was just petty. Alright, now that's done, let's get something crazy to top off the video with. Just head over to my saved and... Why do I have a bad feeling about this? Danger, danger, danger. This story involves a campaign I joined for a short period of time to fill my Mondays between university and work. The main problem person of the story is the DM that I will name Jared. The campaign took place in what was essentially just a rip of Kirkwall from Dragon Age, DM's own words. I chose to play a male half-elf bard that was from a mid-tier noble house. He had been forced to hide his half-elf lineage, lest he be thrown into the alienage, the segregated portion of Kirkwall where the elves live in poverty. My character had left his parental home to experience life and escape the manor he was almost always forced to reside in. He became a bard because he loved music, and would spend a great deal of his time trapped inside his home, sitting on his windowsill, listening to the street musicians outside the grounds of his home. This characterized my character as a sheltered, somewhat naive noble, who wasn't fully aware of the struggles of poverty that would be brought back to reality by the rest of the party, though he was a bit jumpy because he was told to always avoid the horrors of the streets, so I used the alert feat to flavor that. Then came the problem event. We were traveling through the Red Lantern district to talk to the fixer-type character who would set us on the job that would take us out of Kirkwall. The guy operated out of a bordello, and I had decided my character was a soft asexual, but I hadn't decided it was right to share it yet, as it's something I'm exploring myself. In this bordello, my character was more interested in the actual dances the women were performing. I even specifically had him comment, "Wow, that must take a lot of strength to pull yourself around a pole like that." After setting up the job with the fixer, we were told to enjoy ourselves, and each of the male characters is given a woman to fade to black with for the night. A drow woman approaches my character. My character responds, "Oh, no thank you." Jared, the DM, raises an eyebrow and is like, really? She's gorgeous and it's free. I just respond, oh, I'm aware. Still, no thank you. Jared then replies, but you're a bard. Come on, this makes no sense. I was confused why he was pushing so hard to have me boink this woman. I later found out he was so pushy because this woman was an agent from some criminal group that was associated with my family, and she was going to steal a family treasure that I had on me. Basically, she was a honeypot, but Jared never comprehended that I wasn't playing another horny bard. The woman walks off, and we go to sleep for the night. My character specifically stays up to work on some lyrics to a song he was working on. Jared then tells me that before you realize it, the beautiful drow woman is in your room. I, seeing where this is going, say that she couldn't have snuck up on me. I had taken the alert feat. Jared rolls his eyes and says, okay, whatever. You hear the floorboards creak and you turn to see the beautiful drow woman standing before you. The air is filled with an intoxicating perfume and you find yourself enraptured by her. I cut Jared off by asking if she's using a charm effect on me. He responds that she's using charm person and is about to continue when I respond that I get to roll a saving throw at least. Jared sighs and lets me roll. I roll badly on my first roll and Jared chuckles and is about to continue talking. I then tell him that I, as a half-elf, have advantage. Sadly, I don't roll great on the other one too. So Jared starts narrating how I am basically seduced by this drow. This is really putting me off, and argue that just because I'm charmed doesn't mean I suddenly want to bone her. Charm person just makes me view her as a friendly acquaintance. Jared hand waves this and says, this is special. I wasn't quite comfortable enough to reveal the sexuality that I was exploring with this character, so I just shut up. And I just let it happen. She then robs me in the middle of the night, and I argue that as I have a quite high passive perception, that I should at least be given the chance to roll to notice myself being robbed. Jared responds that I've been placed under magical sleep, so I can't notice. I immediately respond that as I am a half-elf, I cannot be put to sleep by magical means. He groans and says, fine, do your roll. I roll a 19, and before the words are fully out of my mouth, Jared says, I fail, and I wake up to find the heirloom gone. This put a very bad taste in my mouth, and I just ended up ghosting the campaign. I should have probably sent a quick message or something, but I did not want to interact with Jared anymore. TLDR, OP makes a softly sexual character to explore the sexuality himself. DM tries to force a honeypot on OP, and then essays OP to progress the plot. Completely reasonable. I would not want to interact with Jared either. This is incredibly creepy and bad. Let's get this out of the way first. The DM could have built this encounter in a variety of different ways that did not involve a player character. He could have just had the drow throw a smoke bomb in there. Could have had the drow lure the OP out of the building and then had someone else steal the heirloom while the OP was gone. There were 1,000 ways to do this. Those are just two off the top of my head. The DM wanted this interaction and got pissy when the OP didn't want it back, which is absolutely ridiculous. Look, I don't know what out-of-game stuff is going on here. What I do know is that boundaries were clarified and the DM just ignored them, which I think is one of the worst possible things you can do as a dungeon master. If your players tell you, look, I'm okay with XYZ and I'm not okay with XYZ, and you say, okay, sounds good, and then when the game starts, you immediately ignore it, yeah, that sucks. Don't do that. I've said in the past that one of the worst feelings as a player is feeling like you're being railroaded into failure. This is like that, but 10 times worse. I'm glad OP ghosted quick. I don't think this game's getting better anytime soon. Alright, and that's the end of today's episode of RPG Horror Stories. If you guys enjoyed it, then please do leave a like. If you want to see more of our content, then you can check out our Q and Play series where I answer your questions in a rambling unscripted format while playing some video games. It's linked to the cards, and while you're there, subscribe to Crispy's Tavern to get more of our content as it comes out. And finally, if you want to leave your own stories and thoughts, go down to the comments down below. If you can't think of a comment, leave the comment. Don't do that. To let me know you made it to the end of the video. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you all next time. Farewell.